What's up?
Oh, Andrew Callaghan, welcome to the program. Are you on a
Thanks for having me on.
dial-up internet or what? What's going on with that?
Why is my service bad? I'm at the Super 8 in Arizona.
Okay, you're at the Super 8 in Arizona. You got the
Yeah.
You went with the low-end package on the internet. Andrew,
I certainly did.
welcome to the program. Sorry, I got to start with this question. What happened last week?
At the QAnon Patriot Roundup?
No, we had you booked, and apparently you were
Oh.
we saw tweets that you were out, maybe partying on the West Coast, and you slept through the interview.
You saw a tweet that I was partying?
We were tracking you.
I think, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I travel every day, and I guess I got the whole Pacific time, PST, EST mixed up. I didn't know you guys lived on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So I thought 1 p.m. I woke up at 12:30, and I was like, I'm doing a great job for myself. I looked at the email, and I was like, God damn it. So thanks for giving me a second chance.
No, well, thank you for coming on. So explain to people and Emma will be back in just a moment, but explain to people what you do. I mean, it is really the idea of it on some level. I've seen other people do it. Emma did it to a certain extent, but it's the way that you do it, I think, that really has made people enjoy watching you so much. In fact, you know what? Let's do this. Why don't you tell us, and then Brendan will play a clip.
I travel around the country, either in an RV or in a van with my two best friends, and get into weird shit and interview different kinds of people, and then put my own kind of stylized editing thing on it. Yeah, I think so. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, let's watch the clip and see if it is accurate.
They assassinated Kobe Bryant. How many people know that? They assassinated Kobe Bryant. They tried to kill Tiger Woods in that car accident recently.
Why?
The Kobe Bryant deal is that he had dirt on the Clintons. I love black people. I love everybody. We're all God's children.
Isn't this a White Lives Matter rally?
Well, I'll tell you what, this whole thing with the virus, with BLM, with Antifa, that was to hurt President Trump. And the reason that President Trump wasn't back by January 20th, the reason he hasn't been back yet, is because he didn't want to have civil war. I think you know where I was on January 6th.
Where were you?
I think you know where I was on January 6th. Trump is still in control of our country.
Where'd you get those shoes from? Those are pretty fresh.
Those are just being a champion for the Lord. That's it.
Amen. Good for you. See, there's nothing anti-white supremacist about that. That's not a white supremacist message.
Sometimes the truth hurts.
What's the most painful piece of truth that's hurt you?
Guy stealing my home. He falsified a trustee's deed to himself with 7 false representations on it and stole my home. His name's Bill Joyner. He lives in Shady Canyon. He destroyed my family, destroyed my 25-year business, separated and devastated my family. So that answers your question.
This dude sounds like he sucks.
I don't think he's a good guy. In my opinion, he's a bad guy and he's hurt a lot of people. But then again, look what the Democrats are doing to others. The deep state is trying to control the people. They control the banking. They control the countries. They control the Vatican. And I care about our country. I want people to know what's going on.
What's going on is a White Lives Matter rally.
Is that what's going on? Yeah. Oh, okay. I had no idea what was going on. I heard that there was a BLM thing going on, and with that usually comes Antifa. I'm kind of anti-Antifa.
These are the, quote, White Lives Do Matter flyers that Huntington Beach police have said they received a report about from at least one neighborhood.
White Lives Matter rally and counter-protest today in Huntington Beach.
Yeah, it's okay to be white, right? Yeah, I'm not here to be violent or anything. I'm just here for, just say everybody's,
all right.
everything matters.
So what brought you out?
I could watch this for a very extended period of time. But that is, I think that's a pretty good representation. Andrew, Emma is here.
Hey, Andrew, how are you?
Great. Thank you, Emma. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
So, all right. So, let's just let's start from the sort of very superficial to getting forward in. What's up with the suit? Why do you wear are you wearing the suit so that you show respect to the people that you're interviewing? Is that what's going on there?
Yeah, it's all about respect and also just professionalism. I mean, at every event, there's 50 journalists, you know what I mean? But if you have the suit, especially a giant brown suit, it differentiates you. It makes you look like you're supposed to be there and that people need to talk to you.
Interesting. And does that work?
Yeah, it actually really does work. I mean, I think I'm going to cut my hair and give myself more of a newsman haircut because I'm looking a little bit too bohemian nowadays. Some people think that I'm like trolling. But
Well, I mean, do you think people are going to be more hostile to you in those events if you look like you're actually from like the mainstream press, or not? I'm curious. I mean, Emma's done this. I've done a little bit, just, once or twice back in the day, of going to like a 9/12 rally that Glenn Beck had, and Emma's gone to a bunch of Trump rallies and stuff like this. I wonder, like, how much hostility do you get, let's put it that way, from these people at any point, or is it not?
well, like I said, it's all about optics. You know what I mean? So it's all about adjusting little details about your presentation if you want to talk to both sides at a protest like that. For example, like in that video, if you see, whenever I talk to people who are on the Trump side, I put on an American flag gaiter. And then when I'm talking to people who are part of the counter protest, I put on like a black mask or a bandana or like a regular surgical mask. It's like those small nods is enough for people to be like, okay, this is the right press. This is the right media. So anytime I'm covering like a Trump event or something like that, I'm always going with little stuff like a USA gaiter or a more patriotic Statue of Liberty tie. I have one tie with the Constitution on it. It's all about how people feel.
I found that when I went to Trump rallies, just being white in general was quite helpful in getting people to talk to you.
Yeah, there's that too.
Right.
But then again, like I won't lie to people. Like I wouldn't wear like a MAGA hat to a rally. That's just like over the line. Like
Yeah,
if I was at a
agreed.
Trump rally and somebody was like, "Hey, are you a Trump supporter?" I'd be like, "Nah, not really."
All right, so how representative, let's say, was that guy of the? I mean, obviously, look, you're picking the guys who are you're editing the guys who are, sort of the most sort of flamboyant and maybe, some people would say crazy. How representative is that guy of those type of events?
I mean, that event specifically, and I talked to an LA Weekly journalist about this, and she said that there actually was no organizer for that event. There was no White Lives Matter organization or organizer. There was no loyal white knight party that was actually drawing people to come to that event. I don't know who organized it, but it wasn't real. A lot of people think it was a honeypot to identify white nationalists after January 6th. The counter protest was scheduled by a local Black Lives Matter chapter. So the counter protest had organization and central leadership. The actual event was just social media marketing to try to get white nationalists and Trump supporters to show up on time at that day. No actual leadership showed up. That guy that I interviewed didn't even see that the event was called White Lives Matter. He just drove by and saw Black Lives Matter protesters and was like, fuck this, and just pulled over, took his flags out of the trunk and just started going for it. But yeah, I mean, he's representative of a lot of people down there. I mean, he obviously, look at what he said. I mean, if that is true that someone stole his home and destroyed his family, it's obvious that he projected that traumatic experience onto the Democrats. Maybe Bill Joyner from Shady Canyon, who falsified the trustee's deed, was a Democrat. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, pretty representative.
I wonder how much. I mean, the interesting thing is too, they've done studies that like there's the foreclosure rate of of people who have been arrested at at the Capitol was pretty high relative to your average population. I wonder how much, if you have a sense of when you talk to these people at these various events, because we should say you've been to, I don't know, how many of these type of events have you been to?
20 to 30.
Yeah. I mean, do you hear stories like that? Like, I mean, I don't know if you'll hear a lot of stuff about like both Tiger Woods and Kobe Bryant were taken out by the Democrats because Kobe was going to do a lot of, in-depth reporting on what the Democrats are up to, that type of thing. But how much do you hear of like complaints about politics and then there's sort of like a subtext of my life sucks because of XYZ?
I mean, in the conspiracy circuit, it's almost every person you talk to. If you dig deep enough, there's some sort of like foundational trauma that sent them down the rabbit hole. And what's funny is 2 weekends ago at the Patriot Roundup or the QAnon conference in Dallas, I talked to someone that was very similar to him, but it was this lady. And I broke it down, and like it came down to the fact that she was heartbroken by Prince dying. And so she got into QAnon because she wanted to understand who killed Prince. And it made most sense to her that the deep state took out Prince because Prince was making a documentary with Anthony Bourdain and Chester Bennington about child trafficking. So they took them all out, so the documentary would never come out.
Yeah, how much of this kind of like, which I think is really interesting one, you say Prince, Kobe Bryant, like these are public figures that have nothing to do with politics, but it's like a larger sense of when you speak to specifically Q people that they're all connected in some way. Like, is that a lot of the thinking that you're seeing? Because it's Kobe Bryant, Prince, they're largely just apolitical, you know, one's an athlete, one's a singer, right?
Atlas controlled opposition.
Yeah.
Yeah, compromised. Well, I mean, I think that for people, especially like mass media consumers or whatever, like these celebrities are like idols and they're a huge deal. So like celebrities are a big deal to people who can grow up consuming like top 40 and Hollywood stuff. So like, I think that like there's a reason that they use people like Tom Hanks and likable celebrities as these figureheads of like the cabal who, you know, drinks children's blood. Like people are like, what, Tom Hanks? Like, are you talking about who voiced Woody in fucking Toy Story? That guy is in the deep state. And that catches people by surprise. They're like, not Tom. So I think that the connection is just a lot of people love these celebrities in this world. Like they idolize certain people like Eminem and Prince. And so whoever's pulling the strings and spearheading a lot of this like conspiracy propaganda knows exactly what heartstrings to pull. And I think that celebrities are a good avenue to that.
What were these people doing before this? Like before they were going to QAnon rallies, were they just like hanging out or were they in, or did they believe like, I mean, I do think that these conspiracy theories act as like a, you know, they're medicinal on some level, or, you know, but what was the medicine they were taking before? Do you get a
lot of them? Yeah, a lot of them were just what I call trippy libertarians. A lot of them were like weed smoking, like Ron Paul libertarians who were super into stuff like UFOs and watching Illuminati videos on YouTube. Like a lot of people in the Q universe are just like heavy weed smoking libertarian sort of style people who were already in kind of the like spiritual like rabbit hole. Like it's all vague. A lot of it's vaguely connected to like psychedelic culture and like the drum circle at Venice Beach was like a huge QAnon spawn point. That stuff's going on. A lot of them were hyper religious, but I would say for the majority of people involved in that conspiracy movement, they were not political before 2017, before Pizzagate,
so
before that whole wave.
They were into conspiracy on some level, but not like I you know, there was that show on the History Channel that it was like about aliens who had come in the past or something like that. And I just know somebody who was into Q who was also like before Q was really into that show. I wonder if there's some, and I've run into like the Illuminati types over the years. That just
absolutely
sort of like tills the ground for them.
So I went to a Ancient Aliens convention in Dallas 2 years ago, which consequentially was at the exact same place where the QAnon convention was, same facility, like the KM Hutchinson Convention Center in downtown Dallas. And there's definitely a big crossover between believing in aliens and believing in the flat earth and believing in the Illuminati, and then believing in the deep state and then believing in QAnon and then supporting Trump. But like, I mean, alien culture seems like it'd be super chill and benign. But then you dig deep into it and you're like, who's hiding the aliens? Why are they hiding the aliens? Why do they want to control our imagination? They want to see humanity at its lowest vibration. They're satanic entities who control media. Who controls media? Boom. You're there.
Yeah, I mean, boom, right? And you mentioned satanic a lot. And like, I get there's like that wellness culture. And it's usually, I think, 40-ish, older, 50-ish people. There's a bit of a crossover with the Q folks. But I mean, there's also a religious component to it too. The whole satanic pedophile thing, it's this existential war between good and evil, and who is the evil core of our power centers that's controlling everybody. I mean, did you get that sense? I mean, you did that coverage on Huntington Beach, but maybe it'd be different in different parts of the country. But that's another faction of Q that fascinates me.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that whole the whole blood sport, good versus evil, what's the worst thing you can possibly do in the world? Eat a kid. Yeah, that's like the most evil shit you can do. And as far as I'm concerned, I mean, eating children is definitely up there. So if you can somehow convince someone that the people that they disagree with eat kids, you've already won the game. I mean, if I knew someone was eating kids, I'd be pissed off. Like, even if you can successfully convince me that someone that I think is cool is actually someone who eats kids, I'll be bummed out. I think that the apocalypse narrative is kind of over. Like, I was working on a movie for the past 6 months, and I covered all the Stop the Steal stuff in DC in December and January. It should come out in the fall. And I mean, there was a sense there of like, Joe Biden is going to establish leftist martial law and take us into like a communist authoritarian dictatorship within 3 months of his inauguration. I think the fact that he hasn't really done anything besides like centrist policy so far has made people be like, oh, it's on the Trump side, be like, oh, it's whatever. Like, nothing that dramatic is going to happen. There's not going to be a rapture of souls. You know, the military is not going to force us to wear masks and take our guns away. But as far as the wellness culture, you know, I knew this. You guys remember what they call perineum sunning? It was like butthole sunning. It went viral. People would like go on the mountaintops.
Right. Well, they go to the mountaintops and spread their cheeks to get sun in their butt.
Yeah, they believe that the sun god Ra really reaches the soul through the butthole, and they call the butthole the perineum. So they think that they're allowing like the sun god into their heart through their anus if they face their butthole toward the sun. Anyways,
and then what happens? Assuming that there's not like significant amount of pain that
there's
follows.
A video we can pull up of this.
I don't think we need to do that. But what happens after the sun enters the place where the sun don't shine, as it were? Then what happens? Good things? Like what? Flowers?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a deeply meditative experience where you like astral project and like connect with God and close your eyes and he's supposed to speak, you know, just typical meditative state stuff. Anyway, so I went out to Joshua Tree in California and I did a video with these people after those videos went viral. It never came out. I don't know, like they didn't want it to come out. Maybe they didn't want their buttholes online. You know, it was fine. I went and I actually did the butthole stunning with the tribe of butthole stunners, and it was a pretty cool experience. Whatever, I thought they were just like on like the hippie spectrum. A lot of them like kind of reformed Christian evangelists from Texas and Arizona who came out to California to take acid and do this perineum sunning thing. As soon as COVID hit, like all of my wellness friends who were involved with the perineum sunning out there got really red pilled. And we're posting like 5G anti-vax stuff like every day. And they went from posting videos of, you know, about crystals and like chakras and star charts and astrology lore to posting like different stuff like every day. How, you know, the coronavirus is a plot to so-and-so. And then it got satanic and then it started getting fused with the Q universe. And then it was basically all Q rabbit hole stuff. And then ultimately I ended up having to unfollow all my friends because after the George Floyd murder, they started posting like pictures of George Floyd on the ground. And the next slide would be like a reptile. And it would be like a side-by-side thing. It'd be like, you know, that he was a crisis actor, all that stuff. And so there was a point where I was like, holy shit, you know, 6 months ago, you guys were in Joshua Tree doing the perineum sunning on a mountaintop. And now this is where you guys are at. So I knew at that point the wellness community, because it's so interlocked with like a lot of that conspiracy stuff. Because I mean, the idea that like big pharma and, you know, mainstream food production is trying to like reduce our consciousness by putting things into our food is one of the key components of the wellness community, is that the people who are giving us what we consume are trying to poison us.
Interesting. I mean, I think, you know, that line is that's fascinating how that slides down in there. So let me ask you this: what have you come across on the left? Is there a similar dynamic? Like what, like, you know, and it's, I mean, I guess, I mean, I don't know. You tell me if this is a fair sort of like assessment of the two sort of dynamics that are going on. On one hand, you have the, you know, the White Lives Matter sort of like, which is QAnon adjacent at times. That is, you know, sort of like the Trump supporters. And then is there a counter, like when you're talking about on the streets, right? It's basically then, is it BLM? Is it Antifa? Like what is on the other side of that ledger, and what is your assessment of them if you've dealt with them?
I mean, yeah, there's the horseshoe theory that people, especially on the right, love to talk about, is it, oh, you've got the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and, militant QAnon people who stormed the Capitol. But then you also got Antifa in Portland and places like Seattle, where I'm from. And I think that there is, like, person for person, if you were to take the most radical Antifa direct action Portland window breaker and pair them up with like a gnarly Proud Boy street brawler from like rural Washington, yeah, I mean, they might give you a similar vibe in terms of like militancy and groupthink and unrealistic radical expectations. But I think the main difference is that on the group of people who are down with more radical shit is just smaller. And so scale wise, that's what you got to think about. Like a large percentage of the right wing believes the election was stolen, believes in QAnon, believes that January 6th was ultimately a good thing as like a show of force. The left, I mean, most people on the left are centrist, comfortable, middle upper class people who don't really want to see much social change. I think they're just primarily concerned with making themselves feel better, especially as gentrification goes on to destroy almost every U.S. city. I think, and every condo has got pride flags and those no human is illegal signs on it. I think that to me is radical. That to me is as upsetting as stuff like White Lives Matter rally. I think like a lot of those Karen cop collars in these gentrified neighborhoods pose more of a threat to safety of people around them than like someone living out in the boonies who is part of a white supremacist chat room. So in my opinion, like what's more harmful, I think a lot of left-wing centrist stuff, gentrified stuff is more harmful. But then again, I think that like the radical left, if you want to talk about like fucking gnarly ass anarchists in the Pacific Northwest, they make up such a small portion of the greater left wing. I think that like trying to compare them to White Lives Matter protesters is just a losing game.
Interesting. And so tell me, what's the plan going forward?
Well, actually, we haven't really even done like a hard launch for Channel 5 yet. Like we've been posting videos, but I'm gonna buy like a news van and like decal it and like put a bunch of fake satellites on it and get like a new outfit with like an old school rain jacket with Channel 5 on it, like a 1990s like the reporter, and basically just hit the road again. I did a pickup artist training seminar in Las Vegas last weekend. Then the weekend before that, I did the QAnon rally in Dallas. So I'm about to go back to LA for a week or so and just edit a bunch of footage. I'm on the way back right now.
And does anybody ever try and like physically attack? You're a big guy, aren't you? I mean, you're big.
Yeah.
How tall are you?
Yeah. Well, I'm 6'3".
Yeah. So no one's really going to mess with you too much in these situations.
Yeah. Also, I mean, there's cameras rolling. So if you were to mess with me, it would make you just like look bad. I mean, right. No one wants to be the interview subject who just tries to punch the interviewer. It's just embarrassing. Honestly, though, like the only place I've ever like feared for my safety is when I used to film like a lot of college, like drunk college interviews in the South back in the day, because I went to college in New Orleans. And so we used to drive up to Alabama for tailgate games. And whenever the game would get out, we would just like try to interview the losing team.
Oh, geez.
Because it was just interesting. Just like that dramatic contrast and like, we're gonna fucking win. And then you just like interview them. So like one time at the University of Alabama, like people would try to fight us, only because they're just intimidated by like a microphone. And frat environments are the most likely place to get punched in the face as an interviewer.
Yeah, that's always been my feeling too. So how long you been doing this since through college? And then let's just briefly, I don't know how much you want to talk about it, but I've been reading up on, you had this sort of deal that you got into. You weren't terribly savvy about what you were going to sign because this like entity offered you some capital to, not a huge amount of cash to go out and do this. Do you want to just, I don't know, tell people how you got to Channel 5 as opposed to all gas, no brakes?
Yeah, so it's a pretty quick story. So All Gas, No Brakes started as a series of books and zines that I would write because I used to hitchhike around the country by myself as a teenager. And I would like tell stories about my experiences, and I would record like stories from like runaway kids, random deadbeat dads at gas stations, and just make these stories. So I called it All Gas, No Brakes. I guess a production company took a liking to it, and they said, hey, do you want to make this into a video show where you travel around? I said, yes, but you got to buy me an RV. So they're like, all right, we'll buy you an RV. And I'm 21 this time. You know, I'm just out of college. They're going to buy me an RV, give me $45K a year to just travel for free. And I could pack the RV with all my friends and just go. So I was like, yeah, they sent me a contract. I was like, I don't care what this says. I'm trying to move around. The show blew up. You know, we got like 20,000 subscribers on Patreon, and we were dropping like these dropping merch every month. And so the show was making like 500 grand a month. And so like, it was crazy. And I was only getting 20% of the profit. So I was only making like 15K a month for a huge show. I signed a movie deal 6 months ago. So I started shooting for this movie full time. And the production company who was even partnered in the movie, they were like, hey, while you're making this movie, you got to keep making Instagram content for us and keep making YouTube videos, because we can't let these Patreon numbers drop. We can't let this YouTube revenue fall while we're making the movie. And I told them I can't do that. I have to work on the movie full time. I'm locked into a 7-day shoot schedule for 6 weeks. And then so ultimately they said, no, you have to. So I said, okay, if you want me to make double content and work overtime, I need more than 20% of the money from the show. I need to be paid fairly. One thing led to another. They fired the whole team. Wow. And so we just lost All Gas, No Brakes. I lost my primary revenue source in the middle of filming for a movie. You know, I went broke real quick, basically. And so I was like, all right, 2 months ago, I was like, I was in Miami Beach, aimlessly walking around with a microphone, talking to people. And they were like, what's your show called again? What's your show called again? And I was like, I don't even want to say All Gas, No Brakes. So I just looked at them and I was like, Channel 5. They were like, from the news? I was like, yep, from the news. And my friend was like, yeah, that actually stuck pretty good. And so we launched that a couple months ago, and we're doing a hard launch in like a month or maybe a couple weeks. I'm going to get like a really funny haircut, like a crispy, more on top court date haircut. And yeah, it's going to be tight.
What does that mean?
What does that haircut mean?
Yeah.
It's like usually like the way my hair looks.
Oh.
Yeah. But even tighter on the sides, more on top.
Yeah.
So like very militant. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well,
militant.
I mean, prior to COVID, my hair was my haircut, but I'm not in any way offended. Andrew Callaghan, really great to talk with you. Really enjoy the show. And where can people see it now? I know you haven't done your hard launch yet, but if they want to see your soft launch.
If they want to see my soft launch, all right. You can go on YouTube, or you can look up Channel 5 with Andrew Callaghan. Mostly just YouTube, and then like we basically fund the show through Patreon. That pays our gas bills. It's gonna pay for like van to get bought and wrapped. That's just Patreon Channel 5. So, but we're about to start doing like TikTok and Twitch in a couple weeks, because I hear that's what the kids are into. And right. Instagram's kind of dying. Instagram's dying.
Facebook's
dead.
The
media. Facebook is dead. Like Facebook is people's grandparents. Instagram is becoming like people's parents. You know. Because the average,
incidentally, I just want you to know. Like,
I don't know if I'll ever get into TikTok, Andrew. Like, I mean, I think I missed the cutoff for that being cool for me.
I don't know. There's a lot of funny
stuff. Are you 27 or older?
You're not.
Are you 27?
I am 27.
27 is the TikTok cutoff.
I am 27.
27 or younger, you can still do it. You can still do it. I'm 24, and I feel like I am past the TikTok cutoff. But
no, you're my sister's age,
I was reminded recently that
Andrew.
it's 27.
I gotta ask you, Andrew. You said you went to college in New Orleans. Where'd you go to college?
Loyola University.
Okay, my sister is your age and went to college in New Orleans. Just went to a different school. That's why I had to ask you.
Did she go to Tulane?
She did.
What's her name?
All right, guys.
Yeah, I'll tell you later.
Oh no. Yeah, you don't want to get doxxed, because people dox you guys, right?
Yeah.
No?
I mean, it happens.
Yes.
It happens.
It's definitely happened. It sounds crazy. Sam, I saw, who's that guy who wouldn't debate you?
Steven Crowder, Dave Rubin.
Yeah. Steven Crowder wouldn't debate you. Why?
I don't know why, to be honest with you. And I don't know if I'll ever have a chance to debate him in the future, but if you ever run into him, and he says, change my mind, you should tell him that he should go debate me.
Have you seen the video of him calling cops on that dude in Austin who's painting the mural on the abandoned building?
Yes, he doesn't get the material he wants out of that guy, and so he decides that he's going to call the police on him. And the guy turned out to be had permission to go do but even if he didn't have permission, what with Steven Crowder is like the graffiti police. He's something else. He is definitely something else, but he's got very cold feet, is my understanding. So what are you gonna do? Yeah,
that video is the cringiest video on the internet. I would recommend everybody watch that video.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. That was from a couple of years ago. He had another gem recently too, when in response to the idea that there were black farmers, which apparently he found to be very hard to understand that there would be black farmers. Probably not being aware of any of U.S. history, but Andrew Callaghan, real pleasure. Can't wait to see what you produce in that van. That is going to be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Thanks for having me on. I love the show.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. All right, folks. That is the free show for the day. Wow. God, was that free?